Hello everyone and welcome back to this Next.js and Contentful tutorial series. In the previous videos we dealt with the sidebar, namely we added some filters to deal with the experience level, the salary range, the job types, and these boolean types, and also even the tags, right? But so far one of the most important aspect of a job board is to be able to search, to give the user the freedom to type whatever they want to type and to filter jobs based on that, right? At the moment, we haven't yet implemented that. So when the state changes, obviously, we are keeping track of that. And to prove that, when I type on enter, we can alert that based on the code that we have here defined in the search jobs form, as you can see. So we're keeping track of the changes in the state, and when I tap on alert on enter, right, to submit the form, well, what happens is that we do an alert. Okay, so obviously that's not what we want to do. We want to actually to perform a search. And remember, so far the way we dealt with everything up to now was to handle those changes in the jobs page instead, okay, instead of handling them locally. So we're going to simply comment this out like this, because at this stage we don't need to do anything here actually. Maybe later down the line we maybe, but at this stage we can simply deal with that here in this function, and we already are, because guess what, whenever we added the change earlier. Remember when we were doing this initial route, initial render too. So whenever the search form state changes, well, what we do is, if it's upon the first render of the component, then we skip and we set this sentinel value to false, so that upon the next one, which is going to be when we render it, when the state changes it, not the DOM is being rendered for the first time, then we pass the state to the search function, right? With that state, the search form state is basically the keyword that the user has typed, right? And we try to do that to avoid like basically spamming the Contentful database, the Contentful CMS. We try to send a query only after 3 characters or more have been typed. Okay, so and where do we get this value? Where? Obviously in our API layer, and from the API layer, the search bar text, the search form state, we call it search bar text. I think it's better. Because at this stage this could be an object at some point. We can change it at some point. We would like to keep our API, our database layer, our data layer the same. So search bar text is a good name to call it. So let's at this moment we are not using it here, so let's simply add it here. And the way, obviously, the way we want to perform our query is to make sure that it's a full text search. We have, obviously, when I click here, we have all these attributes. We have, this is a rich text, this is a title, this is the job type, the experience level, the tags, and so on and so forth. All of these we need to search within these fields, and this is what Contentful call a full text search. If you come here to their documentation, full text search, you will see here how you do that, and it's very simple actually. You simply add the query attribute to your function, to your filter, to your Contentful query, and you're good to go. So let's do that right now. I'm going to come here and I'm going to add full text search, add full text query, full text search query. Okay, and it's very simple, as you saw. So we do if query dot search bar text, I think it's this, right? Then what we do is simply Contentful query, and then we add a query and we search. Very simple. Query dot search bar text, and we search based on that, and it's going to filter that alone. It's going to deal with the query, and we're pretty much good to go. So if I go back here to the search bar and I type Next.js and I search, okay, let's type, for example, Tailwind. Oh, you see, yeah, it works, right? So all these other jobs have Next.js somehow, right? But this one, if I search TensorFlow, it only gives the job that has TensorFlow in it. If I type Tailwind, it has a job that has Tailwind in it. Okay, so it definitely works. But guess what? There's a problem. When I reset the form, it doesn't, like, if I usually, when the good user experience is that you don't want the user to have to refresh the page, because now if I refresh the page, obviously it's going to display all the 5 jobs that we have currently in our Contentful layer CMS. But we want to be able to display all the jobs back when the form is empty, right? And the reason why it's not doing that at the moment is because we have that safety mechanism, or to prevent spamming the data, to prevent sending way too many requests, by making sure that we only trigger the search when the length is above 3. Well, what we can do to fix that is simply say, okay, or the length is equal to 0, and we also want to send a query. Okay, I think, oh yeah, equal. Okay, in that case, you also want to do the query. You see, it's already fixed. It's already fixed for us just by adding that. So let's add again Tailwind. You see, it filters fantastically well. And if I start removing everything and I reach 0, it send the query again without the query without the search text attribute, because you have added this filter here like this to make sure that when it's not specified, then we don't pass that value. Okay, but you'll notice that we can't search. How about searching by, let's say for example, I click here, this is a job posted by which company? Well, Contentful. Wouldn't it be cool to search by company? Obviously at the moment it's not returning anything. Well, it would be nice, I hope you agree, it would be nice to be able to search also by company name. But the problem is, if we look at our Contentful, if I go to Contentful, let me go log into Contentful very quick and show you the model once again. Bear with me one sec when I do that. You see that, for example, here, that job that I open right now, well, Contentful is a nested field, right? So you need to be able to filter based on this nested attribute. Well, the way to do that, as far as full text search, and we also want to do that based on the full text search eventually, but it won't work like the way Contentful works. As far as full text search goes, you need to be doing it on the same attribute. You can't do full text search on nested attribute. Okay, you can't. So what you're gonna do, the workaround we're gonna do for that is basically here from the API, you're gonna send a second query where we're gonna query the jobs based on companies' names. Okay, so we're gonna query the jobs based on the company names, and we're gonna concatenate 2 results that we're getting. Okay, so let's do that now. We're gonna create another function here in jobs, right? So here we have created so far get search jobs. We're gonna create another one called export const search companies but return jobs. Okay, but return jobs. Okay, async, and text, similarly the search bar text. Okay, that's the only attribute it depends on. Okay, so what we want to do is create a query like we did earlier. Let Contentful query equal to, well, job type that we are looking for is contentful. I mean the job that the attribute, the entity type that we want to return is that we want to return our jobs, okay? But what we want to do is filter by fields, company, sys, content type. I'm going to show you what I'm doing in a moment. Sys .id, and then company, and then the final attribute that we want to pass in is fields dot company dot fields dot name. Okay, and we want to do a match. Basically, we are doing a full text search on how is it called, on a single field, right? And I'm going to show you the query, the documentation contentful for that as well. And obviously, as always, we want to add the include here like this too, because we are dealing with nested attributes. All right, and we're going to do const res equals await client get entries, contentful query like this. Okay, and then the found jobs, I already have the parser here, very handy because I use that a lot, so I'm going to just copy paste it and you're good to go. Okay, so now this query, basically, let's go to the contentful docs again. Well, beside doing full text search on a whole entity, you can do full text search on a specific field of that entity, right? And that's exactly what Contentful allows us to do with this match attribute. Okay, so the thing is, those two are mutually exclusive, so you can't do both. You can't do both the query that we did here like this and also do this, right? You can't do both at the same time, right? So you can't do the two at the same time. So that's why we have to create another query in and of itself to deal with this additional requirement, which will allow us to search based on, like, to do a full text search on the company name, which is very important because this is a nested. The reason why we can't do it, the reason first of all it doesn't pick it up in this query initially is because it's a nested reference, right? Whereas we need to give the ability for users to find jobs by typing a company name, which I think is a great user experience. Okay, so that's why we are doing it here like this. And now let's use this function. Okay, as always, anything that we create in our data layer, we want to expose it in a clean manner like this. So I'm going to add it here like this, very simply here. Okay, add it here like this. Very good. Okay, then the other thing, the final thing that I want to do is use it here in our API. Okay, and at the moment we are making only a single request, but I want to make two requests. I want to make now two requests, a subsequent one. So request number 2, const jobs 2, which are basically when we query the search jobs return company query. I'm going to pass that search bar text, right? It's the attribute that it depends on, if you remember, right? It depends on the search bar text. Okay, and once we have that, what do we want to do? Well, we want to concatenate. We want to concatenate jobs and jobs too. Okay, so let's do that right now. Well, it's very simple to yes, so basically what we're going to do is, first of all, actually, you know what, if this is empty, we don't want to do this query. So I'm going to do something interesting here. Let jobs 2 equals the empty array. Okay, and then if this is not defined or is an empty string, we don't want to do the query. Okay, and ultimately we want to concatenate the two. So I'm going to loop over the results here like this, map, and then job 2. Okay, and I'm going to check if, okay, let me do it like this, if not included jobs one sec. You know what? Let me get because I want to do it based on IDs, right? So let me get cons here. Jobs IDs. Okay, jobs.map dot job dot job ID. All right. Okay, let's do that. Now, if not included in job IDs, includes job2.id. Well, oops, job2.id. Then what you want to do is push it inside. So jobs.push.job2. Okay. I hope you understand this code. It's quite basic, but it looks more complicated than it is. So basically, like the initial list of jobs that we get, okay, we get their IDs, right? And we loop over the second list of, for the second query, we get the jobs. Also, we loop over them all one by one. If that a particular one of those secondary jobs is not already included in the list of IDs, then well, we push it in the list of the initial list of jobs that we found, because it's an additional one, okay? And that will allow us to also search the results by company name. So now if I go again, I type Contentful here, you see, now we find jobs that are posted by Contentful. If I type Lifted Ventures, which is the name of yours truly, you see, it's going to return Lifted Ventures jobs. If I type Revolute, it's going to return the jobs posted by Revolute. But obviously, everything else should still work. Otherwise, we are doing everything we did is in vain, right? So here it still works. If I type Tailwind, still giving us jobs that are related to Tailwind. If I type Expert, well, pretty much every job is for expert that we have here. Some like somewhere it includes the word expert, right? So if I type AI engineer, see, senior, let's type senior, actually, yeah, senior AI engineer, see, it works. So yeah, that's the end of this video. I hope you find it useful, and I see you in the next one. Thank you very much.